My name is Audrey, and today I will be reviewing Twisted Love by Ana Huang. So, a quick plot summary and character introduction. So, our heroine, Ava, is 22 and she's a photography student, wants to pursue photography full time. She is stranded after a photo shoot, tries to call a cab or Uber, but I believe she didn't have service, so she calls her older brother Josh. And Josh is in the middle of having sex. So he's like, let me call my best friend Alex for you. Now Alex, our hero, is 26 years old, and he isn't your typical romance hero. Instead, he is cold, ruthless, and not your typical dreamy hero. He, in fact, he comes off as rather indifferent about Ava, and indifferent about just things that normally elicit emotional reactions from people, kind of thing. So he picks her up, and then Josh goes away on some like medical internship thing, and Alex offers to babysit the house. So he and Ava are now neighbors, and so Ava and her friend group, she has like a colorful friend group. One of her friends is the princess of a fictional country called Adora, which reminded me of like the Princess Diaries. You have this like, everything else seems like the real world, but then you have this like fictional kingdom thrown in out of the blue. So we have that, and all her friends are like, Ava, this guy, he doesn't really seem to be showing any emotion, like what's wrong with him? And so they start this whole thing called Operation, like, make Alex show emotion. And so the whole plot takes off from there. Ava brings over, the typical tear-jerker movies to, make him cry. He doesn't cry, no surprise there, but he does get jealous. And then the plot, and I would say the romance, takes off from there. So now our tropes. So Grumpy, the sunshine, Ava's the sunshine character. She's had a traumatic past, so she deliberately tries to be peppy and upbeat. And she even says in the book, like when you're upset but you smile, you get those feelings, I think, of dopamine, and then you feel happier than you would have had you had not smiled. And Alex, on the other hand, is the grumpy character. He never really seems happy. He's kind of, just more negative than her. Another trope we have is brother's best friend. Alex, as I said, is Josh's best friend, and there's always like, that kind of taboo thing, because it's like, the brother never wants his best friend to date his sister, and they're kind of like, not telling the older brother. Another trope we have is a millionaire trope, and Ana Huang took the millionaire trope to the extreme. Alex, as other reviewers were saying, Alex is a definition of a fictional character. He's a genius, has like a crazy IQ, has a superior memory condition called HSAM, where you can remember scenes of your life in vivid detail. He made his first million in high school. He's a prodigy, you know what I mean? Like everything like that. And so I felt like on paper, he was perfect, right? Genius, multimillionaire. And that kind of made up for his like less than amazing personality, right? With being cold and ruthless. But he does have this like hidden, Ava really helps like unpeel the layers of him. It's like an onion and tries to get to like the heart within him. So I would rate this book out of 5 stars, 5 being the highest, 1 being I did not like it at all. I would give it 2.5 stars. Originally, it would have been a 2.9 stars for me. But then something happened in chapter 36 that really upset me, frustrated me, and I didn't like how the book continued after that. I thought it should have ended with chapter 36, as we already had 2 climaxes and 2 resolutions, and I felt like the rest was just filler and unnecessary. and it was very hurtful on Alex's part to Ava. So I liked how Alex was caring and possessive of Ava. You know, I always like a good, possessive, caring hero, and you know, that's what I like in my men. But I thought that the shift from indifference to being overprotective, jealous, possessive was just like way too abrupt, and it wasn't gradual enough for me. So another thing I did like was what were the sex scenes. Like, I wouldn't call this an erotic novel, not by any stretch of the imagination, but there were a few steamy scenes, and you know, they won't be for everyone's taste. He calls her, like, there's a little bit of degradation, so he calls her like a whore and a slut. And there's one time they're having sex and he gets, you know, a call from a business associate. And I thought this scene was wild and kind of crazy, but amusing, because instead of, you know, silencing the call, he answers it. And Ava's like, oh my God, what's wrong with this guy? And he's like, hush, don't make a sound, you know? And he then bends her over, I believe it was a desk. And she's like trying to stifle her moans of pleasure. And so I thought that was hot, and that was amusing. And another thing I liked was that the author, she seemed to have done her research about diseases, poisons, just different things like that, conditions such as HSAM that Alex has. So I like that, because too often you read a novel and the author just doesn't seem to know what they're talking about, and it's like obvious on paper. So now what I didn't like, even though I said I liked the suspense scenes, the two suspense plots. So there's one about what happened in Ava's past, and then the other one is who ordered the hit on Alex's family. So Alex's past, Ava's past, they've both had traumatic past, but of course, you know, since he's the grumpy character and she's a sunshine character, they've gone about dealing about it in different ways. Like, and I thought, you know, like, it's ironic that he remembers everything in vivid detail while she has forgotten her whole childhood, blocking that traumatic past. So even though I liked and I thought the suspense plot was the most interesting part of the book, at the point it was all who did it, it was all too similar between like both these threads. And so it became a little ridiculous at a certain point, and I wish the book had been advertised more, because when I went in, I just thought it was contemporary romance, and so I was confused about the genre. Is this a dark romantic suspense? Is this a contemporary romance? Is this like I just felt like that should have been made more clear from the beginning. And if I had known it was a dark romantic suspense, the plot twist would have seemed less outrageous. So another thing I didn't like was what happened in chapter 36. I thought the book should have ended there. It was unnecessary, and Alex really hurt Ava, and it just enough had happened. Like, it just didn't need to happen like that. Like I said, I think the book should have ended there, and it really frustrated me, and it made me like, oh my God, I was like, oh God, I'm done. You know, that's how I kind of felt about it. So overall, I wouldn't personally recommend this book, as I didn't really enjoy it. The beginning was rough for me, because there was never a good shift from indifference to being possessive and over the top and caring, and I never really bought into a lot of things. In addition, there were too many moments that were told instead of shown. Like, for example, Alex got into a fight, and the writing in the book is like, chaos ensued. And so I'm like, okay, well, show me this chaos. I want to see that Alex is punching someone, the other guy's ducking, you know what I mean? I don't want to hear about it in the next chapter. Then we hear that Alex and Ava, you know, talked all night, or always talking. Well, only at the beginning am I seeing that they are, you know, that they're talking. And there was some good banter in the beginning, but I wanted to understand their connection more beyond like a physical one, and that she needed him. So overall, I wouldn't recommend this book, but I do think the writing was good, and I would be interested in the next book, as I always love a good bodyguard royalty romance, and I think she set up the next book interesting. But yeah, I think like, you know, the author has a lot of potential. There were just a few things that really didn't work for me. And that's why, you know, I would give this book a 2.5 stars. So yeah, thank you for listening, and happy reading.